is a gift, and it is everyone's wish to live long. A long life, if not properly prospected, can come with challenges. And I'm talking about old age ailments. Since it is a common desire to grow old, we might as well grow happily, and that is possible by knowing how to manage ailment that comes with age. For those blessed with the company of their old people and don't know how to go about their treatment, take a seat, maybe hold your pen and paper as we all learn about ailment that comes with age and their management. This episode will also provide tips on the best gift to mankind coming from our Nature's Corner. Thanks for always keeping a date with us on the program Health Options. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim. Welcome. Old age is characterized by the emergence of several health conditions commonly called geriatric syndromes, some of which might be hereditary. At this point, old people are often seen to be frail and mostly dependent, in some cases considered a burden, as they require constant care arising from different ailments. If you have been experiencing any of the above as an old person or a caregiver, not to worry, as we will help you get through with tips on healthy aging. Stay with us. I have with me in the studio a geriatrician, that is a specialist in the care of the aged, and a consultant physician and head of Geriatrics Unit, Department of Internal Medicine, National Hospital, Abuja, Dr. Ogugua Osiobu. Many thanks for joining us, Doctor. Now, take us through, at what point should one start getting worried, or at what point does old age begins?
Okay. Thank you very much, Sal. It's really nice to be here to talk about these issues. So we say that aging, we always used to think that aging began from birth, but now we have enough evidence to know that aging changes actually are affected by what happens during conception. So it's a life course event. The things that happen to one during childhood, adolescent age, younger adult age, all of those culminate into how such an individual will be or would fare at the age of 60 or 70. So we look at the age cutoff of 60. The WHO has given us that age ceiling of 60 to define those who are described as older persons. The United Nations uses the age ceiling of 65. So 60, 65 we describe such individuals as being older. We try not to use the word elderly or aged. We just say you are older than the person who's younger than you. So 60 and above, 65 and above, we describe people as being said to be older. Okay. Why is there a reason to look at this cohort? It's because there's a huge burden of what we describe as multi-morbidity, a huge burden of disease. About 7 out of 10 people in that cohort would have two or more chronic medical conditions. So talking about things like hypertension, diabetes. So you'd have 7 out of 10 having, these conditions, at least 2 or more. And that, some people you have them having about 5 of these chronic medical conditions. And what it means is they now have to struggle or cope with this medical condition as they're getting older. And if they do not have access to good quality care that is person-centered, they actually can end up with disability from this burden of disease. So those are our concerns in the geriatric space. We want people to remain functional as they get older. We want them to have good quality life.
At this point, 60 to 65, like you mentioned, should one start experiencing any kind of ailment before we get to the types of ailment now? Will one be concerned, or should one say that these are old age ailments?
Right. So, like I mentioned earlier, it's a life course. Okay. Did you grow up being a chronic alcoholic, chronic smoker, not going to the hospital to check whether you have high blood pressure or diabetes, because these conditions start early. We just know that from the age of 60, 65, you get a higher prevalence. So when we look at 60 and above, we have many more who would have diabetes and hypertension than we would see in younger people. But we also still see these conditions in younger people. So the way we live across the life course determines how well we do in an older age. So what it means is exercise. Exercise must be a way of life across the life course. Ensuring that you do annual checks to be able to diagnose any disease condition early and treat it. Ensure that you are a chronic, lifetime non-smoker, because we know the effects of smoking on the body. Ensure that alcohol intake is in moderation. Ensure that your diet is healthy. If we can maintain all of this, and social connections, once we can maintain all of this across the life course, take your vaccines that prevent diseases so that you don't develop these vaccine preventable diseases. That allows people to grow into the older age group with very minimal disease burden.
Okay, allow me to come in there, Doctor. We'll get to that stage. But before then, I would like you to be clear. What are some of those common ailments we see among the aged people?
Right, so increasing age is not a disease. I really need to emphasize that, because sometimes we attribute or equate diseases in older people as normal. So someone has failing vision, and at 80 or 85, and the family decides, oh, but Mama is old, so it's okay. She should not be having good vision at this age. So aging is not a disease. It's just a big risk factor for disease conditions. You mentioned earlier, Salwa, that we talk about geriatric syndromes, and maybe I should then talk about this now. We talk about giants of geriatrics. And why do we call those conditions giants? Because they have great impact on the quality of life and functional capacity. And one of them is sensory impairments, when I mean, the sense of sight, sense of hearing. So sense of sight, vision loss we see in older people or with increasing age. So cataract is one of those common things that we see in older people that affects their vision. And it's very simple. Make sure when vision is failing in an older person to make sure that they go to see the eye doctor. Cataracts can be removed and vision restored. The other sensory impairment is hearing. Again, with increasing age, there is an age-related hearing impairment that we describe as sensory neural hearing loss. Now, having said that, the commonest cause of hearing impairment, by the way, that we see is wax impaction, which is a very simple thing. But the problem is people don't get to bring their older adults to even get checked, because it is assumed that you're 75, you're 80, it's okay for you to lose your hearing. But everyone has a right to good quality health care, regardless of age. So with increasing age, again, we start losing brain cells, and that puts us at risk of cognitive impairment, and at the extreme, we develop dementia. There are certain conditions that worsen the development of dementia. If you have diabetes that hasn't been well controlled, hypertension that hasn't been well controlled, high cholesterol situation that hasn't been put under control, if you're a smoker, you're an alcoholic, all of these things increase the risk for developing a type of dementia that we call vascular dementia. Now, there is the commonest form of dementia globally. It's Alzheimer's disease, and that, Sawa, you were mentioning earlier about being inherited. So this is genetically mediated. So if you have an older adult with Alzheimer's disease, other family members are also at risk of Alzheimer's disease. So dementia is one of those. And what we see with dementia is the person loses, they start losing memory for new information. You tell them something now, and an hour later, they're asking you again. They're forgetting things. Somebody might put the stove on and walk away into another room and forget.
That brings me to my next questions now. When we talk about Alzheimer's, and dementia, I know in some community, a lot of people don't understand this particular, set of ailment. I want you to re-emphasize on that, because in some community, you see these elderly people are being segregated or are being accused of other kind of, ailment.
Witchcraft.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. Witchcraft.
So it's really from understanding. So I mentioned earlier, subtle things, grandma forgetting things, grandpa forgetting things, to the stage of even losing capacity to know that, oh, this is not an appropriate place to pee. And this older adult is just peeing on the bed, or they wander away and get lost. We've heard about cases where older people have been missing for months. So we need family members, community members, to understand what dementia is. And it's not, these people are not witches and wizards. It's just a pathology in the brain that brings about this. And there are reversible causes of dementia, but we would never know who has those reversible causes unless they have been brought to us. So even when those changes are being seen, we need to bring such individuals into the hospital. I cannot overemphasize that. Age is not a disease. Every situation in an older person lends itself to medical care. And so when we see people with such changes that we suspect have dementia, there are a series of tests that we do to find out whether they have the reversible type that is treatable, and where it's irreversible, there are also medications and interventions that one can deploy to try and halt the progression. So that's why early identification is key.
We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll take off from there. Stay with us.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose Gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. One cube, endless possibilities. In a world hungry for goodness, with a splash of golden Terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Make a lunch hour a happy hour. Change no thanks into yes please. Provide care when our nearest and dearest needs it most. And resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty, nourishing family meals is all that matters. The world needs moms, because where there are moms, there is hope, happiness, and love. Golden Terra Oil, or pure love.
If you just joined us, the program is Health Options, and we have been discussing healthy aging and common ailments with Dr. Ogugua. Thanks for being there, ma'am. Now, how often do you see people, visiting the hospital, to see a geriatrician? Because these are specialists that specialize in this aspect of caregiving.
The last statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics gave us a figure of 14.8 million Nigerians over the age of 60, and we have less than a dozen trained geriatricians. So that's a big gap. We do get a significant number of people who are being able to enjoy the care that we provide in the geriatric clinic. But majority of our older people, 70% of whom are really rural dwellers, do not have that access. And that's a major gap that we need to close by integrating the care of older people at the primary health care level, because we know that that is where majority of people will go to seek care. And we have adequate referral system so that those who need more advanced care can be referred. And let me sound a warning here, because sometimes we've seen people come with a whole pharmacy to us. Their family members from across the world are sending them different things. At the older age, the risk of developing adverse effects from drugs are much higher. We've seen people bleed from chronic pain medication use, cataflam, ibuprofen, and all of that. We've seen people develop kidney failure. So at that age, a doctor must identify there is a diagnosis that requires a drug before a prescription is given. Incessant use of medications over the counter can really bring about a lot of adverse effects. And with the NSCC now, which is an agency of government that has been created specifically to cater to the mandates, to the needs of older persons, we're hoping that many more social services will be available to our older people.
Thanks, Doctor, for that insight. I know now lifestyle and proper care, the major tips now. We have been discussing healthy aging, common ailment and management. I hope these tips are helpful for you to make informed decisions about your health for a healthy, long life. Let's move on to our Nature's Corner.
Unwrap joy, unleash taste.
Today we are discussing something very personal and something that really bothers many women. That is the issue of what they call toilet infection, which is very, very common, particularly in secondary schools, among young women. And the symptom of this toilet infection actually is discharge, itching, rashes. And what I want to first mention is that there are many categories of infection, you see? And for you to be able to know which one is which, you must go under investigation in the hospital so that you'll be able to know which category of infection you have. But the purpose of our discussion today is simply to give advice on what that infection is and how we can prevent it, and if you have an infection, how you can relieve the symptoms of that infection naturally. One thing about infection is that it has a lot of connection with hygiene. Hygiene is a very, very important component of the infection. Personal hygiene and environmental hygiene. What I mean by environmental is something to do with the toilet. and the avenue of where a person stays and where a person utilizes as toilet. Usually, people that use public toilets are prone to what we call toilet infections, because all kinds of people have utilized that toilet. You don't know who and who it is. The toilet may look clean, but it may not be clean in terms of microorganisms that are infected in that toilet. So actually, the toilet that we have, the toilet system that we have, contribute to this kind of, because the sitting toilet is a problem. Yes. The toilet that we had in our tradition, the toilet that people are not, your body is not in contact with that toilet, is safer. The squatting toilets are safer in terms of contact and infection than the toilets that we have, where the first person sits, the second person sits, the third person, everybody come and sit in on the same toilet. So it means that this is part of the things that one has to look out. Secondly, actually, is as I said, the toilet, that the nature of the materials that you use in cleaning yourself. Yes. We usually use the tissue paper and we use our hand in cleaning ourselves. But many people don't have proper etiquettes of cleaning after going to toilet. Anybody with a toilet infection needs a lot of aeration, a lot of air circulation, because moisture encourages bacterial growth in any place. So it means that if you have toilet infection, you must make sure that your under areas are always dry. That can really help in the fighting of that particular infection. Make sure all the time your under areas is clean. At the same time, your underwears should always be not only washed and thoroughly dried in sun, because if there is moisture inside, that is also a problem. You should thoroughly dry it, and if possible, soak them either in salt water or in Dettol water after you wash them. And make sure at the time you are wearing it, they are thoroughly dried. Don't take an underwear that is half dried. Put it under the sun and thoroughly dry it. That is also an advantage to you. At the same time, the cleaning process that you do in cleaning yourself and the way you keep your under areas. Example, women that are under their menstrual cycle, you see, they always keep their under areas all together. What I mean is that the underwears that you use for your menstruation, you don't need to be keeping it along with your other underwears. What I mean is that try as much as possible to have your under areas that you are using for menstruation to be separately from the ones that you use normally. This will also go in a long way in giving you good health and good protection in terms of toilet infections. And in our day-to-day use, especially the married women, if a person has toilet infection, the other partner also needs to be treated. So these are part of the protocols and part of the advice that I can give. I am insisting that a person must go to the hospital for you to know the definite type of infection that you have. Because as I said, there are so many. We all know the sit bath. The sit bath using salt water is very, very much relieving to anybody who have these symptoms that I have mentioned, the rashes, the itching. But it doesn't have to be hot water, just lukewarm water, sitting. And it's very useful, particularly for children, because children used to have these infections. And they cannot even pass urine. Very, very painful. But this sit bath do help them in terms of relieving the symptoms of the pain and the itching. So sit bath is something that is commonly known to have this. Another one is the use of oils that are garlic oil. Garlic also the oil of garlic relieve the external symptoms of the infection, that is the rashes and the itching, and it can be applied on the affected areas. Yes, particularly if a person has warts, or garlic oil can be used in the application of the external symptoms of the infection.
This is the much we can take on this episode of Health Options. If you missed any bit of these or even previous episode, you can always catch up on our YouTube channel at www.nta.gov.ng. We are also looking forward to your questions, comments, and suggestions. Do well to take care of yourself. I am Silva Khalil Ibrahim. Bye for now.